Okay, guys, good morning. We're going to do special right triangles. We're going to do 8, 3. We're going to use the properties of the 45, 45, 90-degree triangles, and use the properties of the 30, 60, 90 triangles. Now, this is right triangles. Right before this section, we covered it already, but remember, this is right before this was, we just covered geometric mean and the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So now we're here at special right triangles. So by the end of the period, you'll be able to identify and apply the properties of the 45, 45, 90-degree triangles and the 30, 60, 90 triangles. You'll be able to illustrate and compare the properties of 30, 60, 90, 90 45, 45, 90 triangles as a class. Okay, so let's come on. So remember, this is like a right triangle. Like cut it in half, right triangle. A right, I mean, just a square, and a right triangle right here when they cut it in half. 45, 45. Okay, the diagonal of a square forms two congruent isosceles right triangles. Since the base angles of the isosceles triangles are congruent, the measure of the acute angle is 90 degrees divided by 2, or 45. So remember, 90 degrees, right? Because this is 90, these have to be 90 because 180 in all. So these 90, 90, right? That's equal, cut in half, so that's 45 and 45. Okay, so it gives you a 45, 45, 90-degree right triangle. So this is a special triangle. You can use the Pythagorean Theorem to find the relationship among the sides of the 45, 45, 90-degree right triangle. So remember, this is called a right triangle because of that, but it's also a triangle that we've known as what? A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, for a right triangle, we also have it as the legs and the hypotenuse. The one across is your hypotenuse. So looking at this with these measurements, remember it's going to be L and L because it is a square that we cut in half. So these have the same measures. So when it's the same measures here, you know it's a 45, 45, right? Remember the sides across the angles. If they're equal angles, sides across are going to be equal, and vice versa. So regarding this part right here, to do the a squared plus b squared equals c squared, you wind up with this. And there it is. Okay, we collect like terms here. H, solving for h, we get the square root. So basically now the hypotenuse now as this part. H is equal to L times the square root of 2. So there it is. Copy that down. Now, just you need to know that idea. So in the 45, 45, 90-degree triangle, the legs L are congruent, and the hypotenuse of the hypotenuse h is right here, square root of 2. All right, is h is square root of 2 times the length of the leg. Okay, so look at this relationship. So I'm going to tell you this much. If you know this one real quick to be 4, then what's this measurement over here? Oh, 4 times the square root of 2. That's how easy that is. Pretty easy. It's not too bad. On another note, where you copy that down, you can look over here. If you know this one right here, and it's just showing me, I'll go 5. 5 times the square root of 2. Then what in the world is your L? Okay, we'll use that feature right now. We'll use that photo of check. Let's move on up. Okay, find x. Okay, so x is this one right here. Now, if you remember a while ago, that was your leg, and this one here is the leg times the square root of 2. So what is this one right here? Hey, look, we know what L is, right? 6 is L, so we just kind of like plug it right here, and here they do that. So x is equal to 6 times the square root of 2. Well, you could actually get that if you want. Remember, this is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. You know that's 45. This one has to be 45. So this one has to be, what, an isosceles triangle. So this one and this one. So you could do it 6 squared plus 6 squared is equal to, and you can go a squared, right, plus b squared equals c squared. So you can do this as c squared. You can do all the math, and you'll wind up with this, which is super awesome. Now let's look at this one real quick. Now, remember, all of this is your L, right? All of this is your L. This right here is equal to L times the square root of 2. So all of this becomes your L. Pretty cool, right? So there you do that. All of that, your L times the square root of 2. Now, on the side right here, this is what's happening here. We haven't had a lesson in square roots in a while. this is what happens here. This right here is basically 2 times 2 underneath, right? So now for those two, I can put out a 2 here, and now I have a 9 times 2, which is 18. Pretty cool. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and practice these real quick. Sorry about that, guys. Frog my throat this morning. So regarding this one, you can tell it's a 45-45 because this one's what? Okay, that's 90. This is half of these two together. These together have to be what? 90. So this is also 45. So 45 and 45, right? 90 and 90. When he says 90, you know this is an isosceles triangle, so that's a 45, 45, 90. This one's a 4, so this one has to be a 4. Slash, these are my L's, right? This one here, x is equal to L times the square root of 2. So x is equal to, this is your L. And there's your answer. Now, isosceles triangle means that they basically have the same measure over here. Now, this one is across this one, so the angles are the same because the sides over here that are across the angles are congruent. Now, when it comes to here, that's 90. So these two have to be 90 again. So 90 divided by 2 gives me 45, 45, right? So 45, 45, 90. So this is the same idea. So this is your L. This is L times the square root of 2. So that one is x is equal to 5 times the square root of 2. Now, let's look at this one again. Same thing. Same thing again. This one's a 45. No, I'm sorry, a 90. And this one's 45 and 45 because 180, the whole triangle. Now, half of it's already used here, so 45, this one has to be another 45, right? Okay, so now that together gives me a 90, 90 and 90, 180, so it's a 45, 45, 90 degree right triangle. Remember, these are my L. Over here is equal to, well, my, I guess, H. Now, H in this situation, X is equal to L times the square root of 2. Sorry. So this part right here, this is going to be basically my L. So when I have this one, I'm going to have but this is R L. So I'm going to have 7 times the square root of 2 times the square root of 2. So we're going to have, for these two, I can pull out a 2. And then we'll have a 7 here. So x is equal to 14. Okay, so here we're going to come out here and find x, right? Now, in this situation, they're giving you like the h over here, and you have to come back and find x. It's not too hard. It's pretty easy. It's decent. Sorry about this. So knowing this idea right here, we're going to find x. Well, these are my L's, right? And this one here is known as what? This one here is equal to, remember that, this is like L, right? So we're going to go with x and the square root of 2. Aren't those things like that? Do you agree? L. This is the, instead of L, put x. Okay, so now we know this. We just need to find what x is. And that's this setup right here. So imagine this. Well, this is a number. It's not the most coolest number ever. So imagine it as 12 is equal to x times 3, but we don't write it like that, right? It as 3x. Wouldn't we divide by 3 to find out what this one is, right? So we're going to do the same idea here. The square root of 2. We're going to divide by the square root of 2. And we're going to divide by the square root of 2. So x is equal to this, madness. And now, this is where we're at, okay? Well, there's a rule of math. You don't want a radical or a denominator with a square root. So we're going to multiply by the square root over the square root, which is basically 1. The bottom will become a 2. The top becomes this. Now, this is saying you have 12 of these. Well, if you have 12 of these and you divide it by 2, now you only have 6 of them. And there it is. Okay, let's go ahead and practice this one. Well, let's go one more step, look at it real quick. This one right here is, again, 45, 45, because we know these two sides are the same, slash the opposite angles are the same, slash they have to split up to 90 degrees since that's already 90. So it's 45, 45. So this one you have to come out here and say that one is equal to, well, this is like L, right? Now change to X. So this is like L times square root 2, but now we're going to X times square root 2, and we just solve for X. And there she is. If you do n solve it now, guys, it's going to give you a decimal slash no bueno. So let's do 2a. Okay, for 2a now. Remember, this is like your L, this is your L, and this is like your, well, we're going to establish first as 45, 45. So this is a right triangle, so we would think a squared plus b squared equals c squared. As far as this one right here, and this one the same thing, so it means that this is like an isosceles. Right triangle means 45, 45. Okay, come right here. So now we know it's 45, 45 because these two are the same, slash have to be equal in the other 90 degrees. So this one right here, remember this side right here was equal to x times the square root of 2. So there's your setup. So we're going to go 5 square root of 2 is equal to x times the square root of 2. We're going to divide by square root of 2. We're going to divide by square root of 2. These cancel out. We're going to go x is equal to 2. All right. So easy, kind of cheesy. Let's look at this one here. Now this one, oh yeah, 45, 45, has to be right. So remember, this is like L, this is L, and then this one here is L times the square root of 2. So let me just change this. Since they put X, I'll put X, and I'll change this to X. Now that one right there, X times the square root of 2 is equal to 18 divided by square root of 2 divided by square root of 2. Cancel it here. X is equal to 18 over the square root. This is correct, but it's not acceptable. You won't see that as an answer. So we're going to multiply this thing by 1. We're going to multiply it by square root of 2 over square root of 2. This right here on the bottom will give me a 2. This here on top will give me 18 times the square root of 2. Which this is, if you have 18 of these and you have 2, you have 9 of these. And there's your answer. Not too bad. Okay, another special right triangle, guys, is going to be the 30, 60, 90, or 30, 60, 90, okay? A 30, 60, 90 triangle is another special right triangle, or right triangle with the side lengths that are share a special relationship. You can use the equilateral triangle to find the relationship. So basically, it's going to explain to you how they get this. So if you have this, I guess, what's it called, equilateral triangle, right, and they cut it in half, when it comes to this part here, it'll split this in two. So this, you can name this one X. So now you know this one will be what? 2 of these. And this would be like your altitude. So there's some relationships that happen here. It's super cool. So if you were to come out here and use these 3 things as your A, B, and C, you'd wind up with it right here. Sorry about that. Yeah, A squared plus X squared. And this one is going to be squared, which gives you this. Now we solve for this A unknown thing, and we can tell you what it is in terms of x's. Okay, so right here, whereas I subtract down, gives you that. Get the square root of that one, and there it is. This one is x times x, so you can put that x, so there it is. So I'm going to tell you this much. Let's come to here. This is the main idea, put nice and neat for you. So pause it real quick and copy this down. I'm going to tell you what I see, how I remember this one. Okay, the way I remember it is a 30, 60, 90, okay? Since there's 3 different angles, this one has the square root of 3 idea, okay? And it's going to be by the 30 side. That's it. So here, the smallest one will be side. This one will be twice of it. And then this one over here will be that times the square root of 3. Okay? Okay? In 30, 60, 90 triangle, the length of the hypotenuse h is 2 times the length of the shorter leg s, so the shorter side, the s. This one's twice as it. The other leg would be s times the square root of 3. And the length of the longer leg, L, is 3 times the length of the shorter leg. There it is. It's not too bad. All right, I'm just gonna I'll make up a number real quick. Say s is equal to 4. So then this one here is 2 times 4, also known as h. This one over here would be what? 4 times the square root of 3. And there's your length. Let's move on over here. Okay, so we're going to find length in 30, 60, 90 right triangle. So let's go ahead and find x and y. So remember, this is the smaller number here. This is like they have s. This one was twice s, and this one over here was s times square root of 3. Now, this, remember, we should establish first that this is a 30, 60, 90. So this is 90. So these two together have to be 90. And since that's 60, 90 minus 60 is this one. It has to be the 30. So remember this idea right here. The shorter side, the hypotenuse is twice the shorter side. And the longer side, I guess, leg, the longer leg is that side length times the square root of 3. And that's it. Cool. And we'll just have that. Okay, so let's come out here and do this stuff right here. So we know that one right there. We're going to set that up like this. Okay? That is equal to that. And the same idea, divide by square root of 3. Okay? And then we'll just continue working out. So then we get x of that. Okay? If you have 15 of these and you divide by 3, you already have 5, right? So now this alone is equal to your x, which is your s. So now you know this one times 2 gives you this one over here. And there it is. Pretty easy, kind of cheesy, not too bad. Let me go by and zoom out so you can see it again. So let's go look at these real quick. Remember, the one by the 30, 60, 90. The 31 is going to be it went s times the square root of 3, 3 different angles. This one's going to be s, this one will be 2s. So once we find out, if you think about this one's s times the square root of 3, right? So we're going to do that. 12 is equal to s times the square root of 3, divided by the square root of 3, divided by the square root of 3. Cancels out here, we're going to go with 12, divided by the square root of 3, but we're going to multiply it by a 1 to get rid of that radical down here. This on the bottom becomes 3. Top one becomes 4 times the square root of 3. My bad. Hold on. I kind of saw that I worked it out without finishing it up. Okay, sorry about that.